You know, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and that's not entirely true, and let me explain. Before we get into that, let me give you a little bit of backstory on me. For those of you guys who don't know, my name is Mike Woods. I own Advent Tattoo Studio and Art Gallery in Katy, Texas. I've been tattooing for about 20 years, and I've wanted to do it my whole life. Whenever I was 5 years old, my dad came home with a tattoo on his chest that was dedicated to me, was immediately enamored by everything to do with it, loved them, wanted to get them, wanted to do them, just stuck with me. As I grew through my childhood, that's the one thing that remained constant, was just a want to do art, want to draw, want to paint, want to do everything that would lead me ultimately up to tattooing. There was never really an option to do something else, right? So I graduated high school, immediately started trying to get an apprenticeship, tried to do that for 3 years while working various other jobs, couldn't get it. That was right around the time that all of the reality TV shows were coming on. So there was a huge influx of people into the industry that really didn't need to be there. They wanted it for the wrong reasons, right? Like tattooing up until recently has been something that has been very secretive. Tattoo artists really held a lot of value to where they came from, the history, the culture. They really kept things close to their chest. Modern generation would call it gatekeeping. It's not fucking gatekeeping. It's called valuing culture, valuing knowledge. You have to remember, whenever I started tattooing, there was no online tattoo supply companies. You had to work at a studio, and if you worked at the studio, you would get given a catalog to call a company to place an order, which would be delivered, and then you would present them with a money order or a check. It's called cash on delivery, right? Paying over the phone or anything like that with a credit card was largely unavailable. Everything was super secretive, and I loved it. So you have a 16 to 19-year-old kid walking into the studio wanting to learn how to tattoo, and naturally they're like, oh, this is just another one of those crazy kids who wants to get into this for the wrong reasons. Little do they know I wanted to do it since I was 5. So for about 3 years, I tried to get an apprenticeship, never was able to get one, so I ended up getting my hands on some really crappy tattoo machines, and I started teaching myself. Do not do that. I am a huge advocate for tattoo apprenticeships. If I had gotten an apprenticeship, I would have been so much further in my career than I am. I had to unlearn a lot of really bad habits. I got into a lot of trouble at the early part of my career because I didn't understand tattoo culture. I didn't understand respect. I had a huge ego, and serving an apprenticeship and learning underneath a mentor will teach you that. You will receive so much more knowledge and so much more than just tattoo knowledge if you apprentice. So get an apprenticeship. Don't teach yourself how to tattoo. You know, while looking for an apprenticeship, I was working various other jobs, working in restaurants, doing this, doing that. I ended up landing a job in the Arctic, in the oil field up there. My uncle was able to get me on with a crew, and I was up there for 9 months. You know, I was working anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks at a time, flying back and forth, had no social life, worked my ass off, all while tattooing, drawing, painting, doing everything that I possibly could to learn and to teach myself as much as I could, reading articles in magazines, trying to decipher tattoo techniques by looking at tattoo pictures in magazines, everything that I could. My roommate at the time, who I was doing a sleeve on, not a good sleeve, sorry Justin, wanted to go to the local studio to get a piercing done, so we went in. Funny enough, this is the last studio that turned me away. Went into the studio, the manager of the studio saw his arm, was like, oh, that's cool, who's doing your arm? My roommate pointed to me, at which point the manager looked at me and said, hey, do you want a job? We're hiring. So I immediately, naturally jumped after 3 years of looking for an apprenticeship. Yes, jumped at the opportunity to start working as a tattoo artist. Flew back to Alaska, quit my job, came back, immediately started tattooing, and I was at that studio for about 1.5 years. It was a traditional flash studio, not a lot of custom work. Whenever I started understanding that I really wanted to be a tattoo artist, I wanted to be a high-end, large-scale custom tattoo artist. I looked up at people like Philip Liu and Guy Aitchison and Nick Baxter, Jeff Ensminger, and all of these titans of the industry, Paul Booth, all of these guys that were really pushing the envelope of what could be done on the skin, and I wanted to be that guy. And I wasn't gonna be able to do that working at a studio that kind of looked down on custom work. They wanted just more volume than anything. So I ended up leaving. I was very fortunate enough to land a job in downtown Houston at a really nice custom studio that I worked at for a few months. Learned a lot there. Learned a lot of what to do, what not to do. If you guys know me and you guys have known me for years, you know what happened. Don't want to get into it. A lot of the shortcomings in my career came from not having a tattoo apprenticeship, not understanding tattoo culture. So that was just kind of a reaction at that studio. After that, took a 6-month sabbatical, ended up landing a job at a studio in the Galleria area called Studio 8, worked underneath a guy named Shane Smith for about 4 years, and I learned a ton. I learned more at that job, artistically, business-wise, tattooing-wise, more than I had ever learned at any of the other places that I had worked. And I am forever grateful to Shane for giving me the opportunity whenever, to be quite frank, I didn't deserve it. I was nowhere near where I needed to be to work there, but he saw something in me and he gave me the opportunity to do so. So Shane, if you're watching this, man, we haven't talked in a few years. Thank you so much for everything that you did for me. After that, worked at another studio in Katy, brought my first son into the world, and shortly after that, I opened Advent Tattoo. A lot of people ask me, what prompted you to start a business? What prompted you to open your own studio? It's a huge risk. It really boils down to the fact that I had another child on the way. We found out that we were going to be expecting my second son, Tristan, and I simply just wasn't making enough money working for somebody else. At that time, the way that studios were structured, it was you're basically giving half of your money away to the studio. So it just wasn't feasible. I wasn't taking any walk-ins. I was strictly tattooing my own clientele. So there didn't really make sense for me to give my money to somebody else. So I took every single dollar that I had and I dumped it into a small space in Northwest Houston, and I invested everything that I had, emotionally, financially, physically, into this space. And I was there for 7 years. I worked at that original space that was small. It was 1,200 square feet, just enough for 4 to 5 artists. We were in there shoulder to shoulder tattooing as much as we could, and it was great. It was 7 years that I will look back on for the rest of my life very fondly, working tireless hours, 8, 10, 12, 13 hours a day, shoulder to shoulder with really, really good friends. And it was awesome. But eventually we outgrew the space. We needed a bigger space with better frontage. I wanted to bring on more artists. I really just wanted to scale the Advent culture. I wanted to scale the studio, and I really wanted to start doing stuff that was gonna benefit me long-term versus short-term. So in 2019, we started looking for locations. 2020, we found this current location that we're in. We've been here for about 5 years, but it hasn't been easy. Whenever we opened this place, yet again, I took every dollar that I had, invested everything that I had into this place, trying to grow it, building it out, making the transition from that studio to this studio, bringing on more artists, everything. Really just a secondary gamble just to grow. And we opened the doors. The studio was full of excitement. It was something that everybody here was really looking forward to. And then COVID happened. We were open for a grand total of 24 hours, and then the stay-home order was issued. So my team had to figure out, okay, well, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? How are we gonna keep the doors open and not have to close permanently while still not being allowed to work? So we as artists do what artists do. We hustled, man. We did everything that we could to generate money. We painted. We did everything that we could, and we somehow managed to make it work. After the stay-home order lifted, that was it, man. We were off. We were off like gangbusters. We were working like crazy and really just flourishing. But one of the things that we've noticed, and it's noticed across many other industries, is that after COVID, things changed. Cultures changed. What people wanted changes. Everything changed. And so with that, what we had to do is we had to really remain as liquid as we possibly could. We had to be able to function in a way that was adjustable to our time, right? And that's one of the things that I've learned in life, not just in business, is that you have to have flexibility. Just because you have a specific business plan in place and it works for a long time, it doesn't mean that it's going to work forever. And whenever the industry changes and the world changes, regardless of what industry you're in, you have to change to accommodate that, especially if you're dealing with sales and you have to try and intrigue people to buy your product. You have to stay relevant by following the trends without sacrificing your culture. One of the biggest adjustments that we noticed is that people and how people portrayed tattoos online changed, right? Whenever I started really getting into social media years ago, Instagram was the big thing. And back then, Instagram was more than able to carry you. You could post a picture and the work could speak for itself. Then the arrival of TikTok and everything else really started to change the industry. Suddenly, you had to not only be a tattoo artist, but you had to make yourself visible on social media. You had to start doing more videos versus photos. You had to basically become a tattoo artist and a content creator, or a tattoo content creator. A lot of people in my generation of tattoo artists hated it. They came into the industry and they wanted to do really good tattoos. They wanted to let the work speak for themselves, and they wanted to be like this super mysterious tattoo guy behind the scenes. I was that guy. But what you notice is if you do that, booking slows. You stop being visible, right? Trend is I want to see people online. I want to get to know them a little bit online before I have the courage to come in and talk to them in person. Because walking into a tattoo shop is freaky, man. Like it's kind of scary. It's very intimidating. I get it. So you have to have a presence online. And unless you remain fluid and unless you really lean into that, you're just going to suffer, which is what a lot of artists are doing now. You know, a lot of artists are starting to have the realization that you have to do that. You have to stay fluid and you have to move over to that thing that you may not want to do. Another really crazy thing that we noticed is the tattoo industry is very cyclical. Things that were popular 5, 10, 15 years ago are starting to circle back around. Tribal is one of those things. In the late 90s, early 2000s, tribal was very popular, and then it kind of faded away into obscurity. And to be quite frank, it was kind of frowned on. Artists from my generation looked at tattoos and been like, that's so remedial, it's ridiculous. Well, guess what's coming back around? Tribal is making its comeback. And as an artist who has pushed the envelope for almost 20 years to do the most complex things that we can possibly do on the skin, you have somebody bring in what they're now calling cyber sigilism. It's just fucking micro tribal. Here's a picture of it right here. Tribal, micro tribal. Same thing, just smaller, gonna age worse. And so you have a want for a more simple style. People want faster gratification. So you have to remain fluid, right? So those have been a few things that we've had to adapt to as artists. Now, as a business owner, one of the biggest things that I've had to adapt to is employees and client relations. Whenever I was a young tattoo artist, you wanted to work for a studio. You wanted to work for a studio under that brand and you had pride in that brand. And now that is largely gone. Now it's largely they don't want to pay percentage, which is fine. They want to pay booth rent, they want to be able to come and go as they please, and they want to start tattooing and immediately start making six figures and doing all of these other things without putting in any effort. One of the things that I've prided myself on over the years is that we don't have a lot of fly-by-night artists. Most of the artists that have worked underneath the Advent Tattoo banner have been with us for 5, 6, 7 years, and whenever they've learned as much as they could and they think that they need to do something different, then they go out into the world and they find somewhere else to work, which is fine. That's the tattoo artist journey. Everybody does it. But over the last few years since COVID, we've had a lot of artists come in, not work out, and leave. So as a business owner, we are having to restructure how we run the studio in order to accommodate everybody and still make sure the clients are taken care of. So one of the things that's going to be happening over the next few months is Advent Tattoo, as most of the clients know it, is going to largely change. We're going to either move to a different location and restructure, or we're going to keep our current location. We're going to do a remodel, rebranding, and completely do something brand new and different that's never been seen before, which we're really excited about. So just stay tuned for that. I'll do a different video on that at a later date. So outside of needing to remain fluid and dealing with the day-to-day problems and issues that come with owning a tattoo studio, the other thing that you have to understand too that makes it work is tattooing isn't just I'm going to come in, do a tattoo, and then leave. Tattoo artists work during the day. They have a workload during the day, and then it's not uncommon for artists to take their work home. They have to prepare designs, which takes hours. They also have to juggle that with their overall health. Tattooing takes a really gnarly toll on your body over the years. It takes a gnarly toll on your hands, your back. If you don't pay attention to ergonomics, you're going to pay for it later in life. It's not just a 9 to 5. It's a 10 to 15 hour a day thing. Whenever you're dealing with clients who want instant gratification and who are very impatient, they can kind of make it a little difficult. So that boils back into the whole, it's definitely work, man. Like, it's not just as glamorous as everybody says, where they're like, oh, I'm just going to go in and tattoo and then make, $500,000 and then leave. That's not real life. So it's work. Tattoo artist is work. But I made this video not because I wanted to go on like this massive rant. I wanted to give you an insight into the day-to-day life that we face every day and the yearly life that I face as a business owner. I have interest in other business. Tattooing is just one of the areas that I work in. I have businesses and other things, and we're seeing the same trend across all industries. Everything is changing. The type of work is changing. Everything is changing. But the reason that I made this video is to show you guys that while we love this job, it is definitely work. And what makes it worth it, and this is really what the point of the video is, what makes it worth it is you guys, the clients, the people who support us day in and day out, the people who show the want to get tattoos, the people who show the want to be part of the Advent Tattoo brand, who push the envelope and let artists do crazy things on them, really pushes the boundaries of what can be done on the skin. For the clients who come in and get small tattoos, the clients who give like referrals and bring family members in and bring your kids in. I've been fortunate enough to tattoo 3 generations of people. There's a family out there who I hold really close to my heart who I've literally tattooed everybody in their family. It's all you guys. You guys make it worth it. I often say everything that I have in my life, from my kids to different businesses, it would not have been possible if it wasn't for tattooing in this industry. And I mean that. Tattooing has opened so many doors and provided me so many different connections with people and friends. Some of the closest friends that I have in my life started out as clients. Really, I guess what I'm trying to say is this video was meant to be a thing of gratitude. We as artists, while it is work, we have a really great life. We get paid to do artwork on people, and there's a trust there for us to do a good job. You come to us and say, I like your artwork enough that I'm willing to wear it for the rest of my life. And that's pretty heavy. And I acknowledge that heaviness and I acknowledge that weight, and I am forever honored for each and every one of you guys that has came through the door and asked me to tattoo them. It's been an honor of my life, and I am forever grateful for you guys supporting me throughout the years, supporting all of my artists that have worked here, and for supporting the studio. It's been a crazy 20 years, and I'm definitely looking forward to what the future brings for myself, Advent, my team, and the overall industry. So again, guys, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. We wouldn't be able to love this industry as much as we love it, and we wouldn't be given the opportunities that each one of us are given throughout the years. So in a nutshell, guys, thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. So with that being said, guys, if you like the video, I know I'm not active on here very much. I'm gonna be making more videos. We're gonna be restructuring this channel. I'll make another video about that later on. But if you do like the video, if you like the tattoo content, hit the subscribe button. There's gonna be more tattoo content coming here pretty soon. Thank you again for everybody that supports this channel, supports my team. You guys are fucking amazing, and we love each and every one of you guys. Well, guys, there's a freeze tonight, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Hope you guys have a safe weekend, and I will see you guys next time. Later.